Welcome, guys, to another episode of JA Talks. My name is Jasam, and this is where we talk about the news that was. Now, our top stories are millions missing from Usain Bolt's account at investment firms SSL, and Miss Universe Jamaica's Nanny of the Maroons national costume look at the Miss Universe pageant. Now, stay tuned, guys, for more news and details. Okay, guys, so we begin with the first news regarding Usain Bolt. Now, a company which looks after Usain Bolt's investment is under investigation after reports he may have lost millions of dollars to fraud. Now, the Jamaica Financial Services Commission (FSC) has placed the firm Stocks and Security Limited (SSL) in an enhanced oversight following the allegations. The 36-year-old retired sprinter had investments with the SSL for over a decade. Both manager Nugent Walker told the Jamaica Gleaner and that at the time the Olympic champion had noticed discrepancies. Now, the Jamaica Gleaner reported alleged millions of dollars were missing from the account. The FSC said it was aware of reports of allegations of fraud and that the oversight process would allow it to see the management of funds into and out of the SSL. The FSC is simultaneously continue its investigation into matters related to SSL. Now, the SSL said its own internal investigation suggests former employees was behind the alleged fraud and added it had referred the matter to the relevant law enforcement. Now, all right, guys. Where do I even begin? Where do I even say or address this matter? This is a very sad situation. I would have noticed that there's a trend. I don't know if anybody would have noticed this trend. However, I myself would have noticed this trend. And what am I talking about? Well, I would have noticed that there's a trend where there are personnel in the financial sector who the truth has come out. And so the truth has come out where it has been discovered that there has been some irregularities. There has been some financial irregularities in the way they would have processed and done business, the form of transactions as to what they would have done. I recall there was a manager at National Commercial Bank. She was getting a salary of over $11 million yearly, right? And she robbed way over 30, I think possibly $50 million. She was brought to justice and she went to prison. I think this was in 2021, I recall. And so recently late last year, two cousins at Sagicor were also formally charged with fraudulent allegations. No, they have not been sentenced or anything like that, but the process would have begun, and so they would have gotten their legal representation. Now we're seeing this now with the SSL, and so this is actually the Stocks and Securities Limited (SSL). We're seeing where fraudulent activities would have taken place. You're saying both would have noticed the financial irregularities or the discrepancies, and so he would have sounded an alarm. It is in the media that he would have lost $6 million. Now, $6 million is almost a billion Jamaican dollars. That is a lot of money. I don't think. Okay, so fine. There has been some irregularities taking place, and yes, they would have fined. If you want to say, okay, then they took the $6 million. I understand that. However, I do not believe that they took the $6 million one time, because that would have really caused a great alert. But they would have gradually, nibble, take $1,000 here, take $2,000, $10,000 there over the years. Because remember, as the report states, is that Usain Bolt had a long-standing relationship, financial or business relationship with this entity for over a decade. He's 36 years old, so this would have taken place like probably 26, 25, 24 around this all. And so we're seeing here that these persons, I guess over time, we don't know when the fraudulent activities, the alleged fraudulent activities would have taken place, but I know for a fact that no financial advisor, no person with financial literacy is going to take one full whack of $6 million or one full whack of 900 million, almost a billion Jamaican at one time, right? So they would have done this gradually over time. So what am I saying? So this would have taken place perhaps over a couple of years actually, and so these persons were just eating at it. But now, eventually, story come to bomb. And so what I would have found that was a bit alarming though, based on the SSL's internal investigation, it would suggest that a former employee was behind the allegation. So therefore now this is going to look really bad and damage the reputation and the trust that the SSL would have, because here is the situation. How is it that a former employee is going to be taking place and actively involved in financial transactions at the employment or at the entity? Once you are no longer an employee, I work in the BPO industry, I work in the call center, and once you are no longer an employee, your access past your privileges to personal information is no more. You no longer have access to personal information or certain confidential information or serious information of the entity. So I don't know how would this person have access to that. So therefore now this is going to damage the distrust of this entity, and for persons who would have had their investment with this entity, with this business, some of them, they may want to pull the financial portfolio from them, right? This is serious. This is extremely serious. You robbed over almost $1 billion, right? God knows, who else them rob up. Because I'm sure Usain Bolt is not the only client that they would have. I'm sure they would have other clients. It's just that Usain Bolt would be one of, if not the most popular clients that they would have had. And so this now is going to, open a can of worms. And so, of course, the FSC is going to launch a full investigation. I don't think this is going to launch an investigation into Usain Bolt's account, but the entire entity on a whole, in terms of, you remember, as I stated, they're going to be watching the movements of funds into and out of the entity. So not just anything pertaining to Usain Bolt, but also the company on a whole. What I would like to add though is that it is incumbent for all of us as individuals, whenever we're practicing any financial transactions, to ensure that you have your receipts. I think it is also important, most imperative for all of us to have a sense or a knowledge of financial literacy. Unfortunately, this is not, the Ministry of Education has not implemented this in schools, and I'm sure that a lot of persons are calling for the government to have this implemented in schools, financial literacy. It is most imperative, it is most important, so that nobody can step away and take advantage of us, because that is the problem. Because when you don't have knowledge of financial literacy, what can take place is that financial advisors can be manipulative, can be gaslighters, financial gaslighters, and make it look like they'll be able to financially explain themselves out of any difficulties. You understand? Because my man, you don't know nothing, and because you don't know nothing about it, right? They can tell you anything, they take it running because it makes sense, because you don't have any knowledge of it. And this is also another advice as well. Whenever anything with the financial advisor tell you, right, it's not for you to take it as gospel, to take it as good news, but what you can do is to write down the details and write down the information that financial individual, advisor would say to you, and then you go to an independent random financial advisor an experienced one, and refer the information to them so that you can compare the notes and compare the information to see if a tripatism, I tell you, to see if there are any irregularities taking place. Ensure that anything you don't know, you ask questions, and if you still don't know, get a third person to answer for you. I know that, business-wise, there are entities that would have business lawyers. So, for example, in my previous report where I spoke about Nationwide 90 FM signing a big contract deal or big whatever deal with Amber Alert. Prior to that contract being signed, I'm sure Nationwide 90 FM would have their business lawyers to read through the contract to see if there are any loopholes, to see if there are anything to catch you. Because you know how business stay and how them have them fine print. And you don't want nobody to catch you like that and you're not reading the fine print. Now, we understand that we as a regular man, regular poor people, we don't have any money to hire any lawyer to do those type of stuff. However, what you can do is you should have the opportunity to take home the contract and read it thoroughly for yourself. And not take, I think, because I remember back in 2016 when I would have created a life insurance, I signed a contract for a life insurance, and the advisor, I didn't even read anything in it, right? There were several different things he just told me to sign, and I signed here, and all he did, he just gave me a brief, like a summed up rundown of what the reason I should sign it. However, I didn't read it, so could I lie myself? Right? And I don't have a copy of that contract. And so what would have happened, it lapsed for me because I recall they didn't take any money at first and then they take money later, and one bag of foolishness, it lapsed, I'm going to get the money out of it. I'm going to say never again. But what am I saying is that a lot of the time they use the tactics of, oh, there's not enough time, and then in my experience, it was a lot of pages that I should have really sat down and read because there were a lot of pages, so therefore there was room for fine prints, and because me can't take a guy quote or nothing like that, because guess what, I didn't even read it, so therefore there could be things that he could have or different clauses in the contract that he would have, the business would have to protect themselves so that they can't be sued or anything like that. It is important for you to know and read exactly what you're getting into. So I think you should not allow any financial advisor or any financial institution rush you into signing any major deal with them. You should have the liberty of being able to read it for yourself. Take a guy a yard, take it home with you, read it for yourself. Ask questions to an independent person who is not them, and they can tell you, who has financial literacy, and they can tell you and point out the stupidness or the stupidness in it, if there is any. But it is important for us to empower ourselves and to have some sort of financial literacy. I believe, Usain Bolt is a very much busy person, I would assume, and so I guess that's why they were able to steal as much as they have, because I'm assuming if he was really watching it and combing through his accounts with a fine-tooth comb, I don't think it would have reached thus far. Probably a 1 or 2 million Jamaican dollars, and then the alarm would have been raised. But it is what it is. What I know for a fact though is that Usain Bolt is going to be, he has nothing to lose, because the SSL would have registered underneath the FSC, the Financial Services Commission, and the Financial Services Commission is an entity, is a government entity underneath the Ministry of Finance and Public Services. And so every financial institution, every bank, every credit union, every major loan company, or anything that has to do with finances, whatever, they have to register with the Financial Services Commission. They have to register underneath the Ministry of Financial Public Services. I don't think if you recall, I can't remember the name, I lose me, but there was my company even had like a lunch benefit with them, my former place of employment, and they were what's that word again? They were their license, their financial license was suspended, right? A part of getting your license for them to get their license, because again, fraud does happen, and these are things that can happen. So therefore, the financial institutions must have some form of insurance. In the event of fraud, they will be able to reimburse their client who was inconvenienced, or any, if there was any robbery that would have taken place, right? Financial institutions have to have these in place in order to have their whatever financial license. So therefore, Usain Bolt, he would not necessarily suffer from this. He would not necessarily lose from this, because they are going to have to go back to the insurance and reimburse his money. But the major effect that's going to take place is that it's going to look bad in terms of any relationship that they may have. I don't think Usain Bolt is going to want to continue having any relationship with them, but it is what it is. And so if there's anybody else, any one little man will have the relationship, any portfolio with the SSL, some of them may want to just, or most of them, a lot of them may want to just pull from them. It is very bad. It's very sad. It's a sad thing, but it is what it is. And yeah, it is what it is. And so we just want to watch and see what happens, if there's going to be any conviction or formal charge. We just want to see what's going to happen and what's going to take place. All right, so on to our next news. Okay guys, so we continue with our news. We have Miss Universe Jamaica representing us in New Orleans, Miss Toshami Calvin. Now, earlier this week, she would have modeled the national costume, and so she would have modeled she chose to represent Nanny of the Maroons. And so take a look at this clip.
Jamaica. Meet Queen Nanny. She expertly commanded her people in the fight against oppression and for freedom against slave masters. As Jamaica celebrates 60 years of independence, we celebrate this female icon. This queen deserves to be seen. Jamaica.
Okay guys, so therefore you'd have just seen that. We were able to see the swimwear, and we saw the gown, and we saw the national costume. I have mixed feelings. No, Jamaica is going raved, and everybody's raved. For the most part, everyone is loving it. The gown that she wore, or not the gown rather, but that's a pants and a blouse, I guess, that she wore to the interview. So they had to do an interview, and to introduce themselves to the judges, to let them know who they are. That, oh my gosh, I loved it. With the very long sleeve, she came, it represents that boss bitch move. She went in there and she looked like a boss. If you get what I love, that's my favorite. That's my favorite dress or suit. The evening gown, I felt like what was the one where they do Afro again? Davina Bennett's evening gown was way better. Like, her even gown in terms of Tashami's, and I'm critiquing it, it's something that you've seen already. You understand? You want to be different. You want to be, you don't want to be like everybody else. And so, I'm just playing a little devil's advocate. I've seen that type of design already, so it wasn't something that was, oh my gosh, it did not give me the wow effect like what she would have worn to the interview. I've never seen something like that with a long sleeve before, and that gave me like the boss bitch move. I loved it. But the evening gown, it's just giving me, okay, I've seen it already. So it wasn't really giving me anything. Let's talk about the national costume. All right, so with the national costume now, that's a different kettle of fish. It looks good. Let me start off by saying it looks really good. As a matter of fact, I almost want to pick that over the evening gown. I'm not telling a lie, because the evening gown just here, right? But I almost want to pick that over the evening gown. I'm not telling no lie. And so, what am I saying? However, and this is my however again, with the evening gown, it looked more carnival theme and less African theme or Afrocentric theme, especially with the feathers on the shoulder. Again, let me make it abundantly clear. It looks very good. As a matter of fact, it looked better than even gone. Come on, no someone not gonna attack me in the comment and say me bad mind and whatever. And let me make it abundantly clear. Me want her win, right? Me want her win for true. But I wish I was a part of it. I wish I could have helped to pick a better design. The nanny concept, the concept on a whole of nanny, I love that actually. I really do love it. However, the execution, I don't like it. Right? It was, again, not saying that it was bad, but it could have been a lot better. And so I don't think it was represented properly. Of course, there were some things like, you know, the horn and I must say the knife or the cutlass and the turban. Those were the only things I really saw that were African per se. But the whole dress on a whole, the tail of the dress was very feathery. I don't know if you noticed, but feathers aren't really an Afrocentric look, if you get what I'm saying. So the shoulder pads with the feathers, it wasn't giving me the Afrocentric look. And I also get the fact that you have to also add a sense of fashion to it, because you also remember, you know, you want to be historically correct and you also want to add fashion. You don't want to be too historical. Well. You know what? Then again, not really, because there are other countries who it wasn't about the fashion, it was just about, you know, being historically correct. So let me not even say that, because other countries were just fully given the raw look in terms of the history. So she could have gone for that look, but fine, you want to add fashion to it to make it look, you know, attractive. You could still have it a fashionable and also have it historically correct. The feathers don't, to the best of my knowledge, and I stand to be corrected, but I don't know of any Afrocentric look that includes feathers. Well, those types of feathers. It's given carnival. And I just have to be honest, that dress, that look is given more carnival, more Trinidad vibes than a Jamaican Afrocentric, and especially you're going to use nanny. Made no sense, nanny never have nothing to do with feather. So where that come from? You get me? I'm saying. So it's not to say, oh my gosh, I don't want her to win. I actually do want her to, because for far too long, majority of the time with these pageant competitions, they normally have somebody who do not represent the majority of Jamaicans, who doesn't look like the majority of Jamaicans. 92% of Jamaicans are black or African descent and are dark complexion. And I love the fact that she represents and she looks like most of us. So therefore, it would be lovely for someone to look like us to actually win a major pageant show like that, right? However, again, my only problem again is, you know, I wish she would have tried certain other things, but she isn't bad, and let's just hope and pray that she goes to the semi-finals, and so she'll be able to better represent us. There's a reason why she won, and so I'm sure she would be able to represent us. By now, I'm recording this after 4. We would have had the opportunity to vote for her up to midnight tonight, and so the pageant, the coronation show, will take place on at 8 p.m. and the 14th. So I'm posting this video on the day, but I'm posting it before obviously this video is going to be posted before the coronation, so y'all can see it. Let's hope she wins. We're going to represent for Jamaica. So yeah, that is it for another episode of JA Talks, guys. It was my pleasure not assisting you, but presenting to you guys. And again, I will leave with my saying, your independence is the foundation of your liberation. Take care, guys.